hard it is. I'm a female. I've been doing it for 17 years already. They teach you everything you need to know.
Right.
A lot of people don't know. Like, my scale is $54 an hour. And when I say that, some people, like, I go to office buildings and work in the city. Oh, you get dirty. And I'm like, I work 7 to 2:30, and I go home and take a shower, and I make $54 an hour, and you're making 15.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
you know, a lot of people don't know, you know, these apprenticeship programs, you know, give you a great living.
And there are 2 points that I wanted to sort of ask you about, or maybe Dave about, and that is when apprenticeships open up and those applications open up, they don't, I mean, tell us about what it looks like at that office building when the applications open.
When applications open for an apprenticeship in New York City, for the people that do know what a great opportunity it is, at least in our local, and people from all ages, it's not even just kids. Like, I had an apprentice that was like 47 years old. I mean, the line is like 5 blocks long. There's people that stand on that line from like the night before. They give out, I believe it's about 2,000 applications, and people are on that line for like 2 or 3 days waiting just to get the application, to have the opportunity to just fill it out and turn it in and see if they'll even look at you. So, I mean, it's...
Yeah, and so that just shows you how in demand these career opportunities are. And I think it also underscores how important pre-apprenticeship programs are, because new, non-traditional employment for women, these women that are getting this training, they don't have to wait on that line. They place these women, and the other pre-apprenticeship programs place these trained workers directly into the apprenticeship program. So they are, you know, if they go through the apprenticeship program, have a tremendous opportunity, and it's not a guarantee, but they get to skip this line. And it's just, I mean, it connects local residents to a transformative career opportunity in a way that no other program does. I mean, it's not an exaggeration in any way.
And another point that you made was about just in terms of you and contributing back into the community, right, to becoming more civically involved. And that's certainly something else that we think would be a very terrific benefit for Portchester as a whole. So we collected some questions. We have some questions from you, and I will ask it of the panelists. And I'm not sure who's going to be able to answer this one. Maybe Ben, you can, but or maybe Richard. What is the status of the United Hospital zoning approval? Are the trustees supporting Starwood? Can you take that one?
Yeah. Before a vote can be taken on the zone change that Starwood has requested, they have to do an environmental study to determine what the impact of this proposed development would be on the village in terms of traffic, in terms of school kids, in terms of water and sewers, in terms of fire and police, all those different things. That's been a long process. They submitted possibly the last draft of this environmental report on Monday. As far as I know, the village board is going to meet on the 29th to get input from their consultants and from their staff as to whether, in fact, this last report that Starwood has submitted is in fact complete and answers all the questions. We have some concerns that some of the questions haven't been satisfactorily answered, particularly relating to labor issues and affordable housing issues. But the village board at some point will make a determination whether that environmental report is finished. Once that they have said that they will schedule a public hearing. Once they said that this report is complete, then they will schedule a public hearing for the public to give input. After that public hearing, there are a couple of other steps, but that's when the board would be empowered to pass, either vote for or against the zoning amendment. I think, some board members have indicated interest that they're going to pass it, and some less so, others, but each board member has to make up their own mind, and I'm sure they'll be taking the advice of their staff and of their consultants and of their attorneys as they review this process. process. But I would say, if there's a public hearing, it probably wouldn't be until December, and if there was an approval, it probably wouldn't be until January or February of next year. That's my guess.
Thank you. Our next question asks, what can we do to ensure future projects have affordable housing? Oh, I think we talked about that. You talked about that sort of at the top of your talk. Did you want to talk about that further?
Well, just that we've asked the board to increase the number of zoning districts that
Require the 10% set aside. Currently, as I said, they're in the multifamily residential districts. It should include also the non-residential districts that permit multifamily housing, and that it would require, and then every development of 10 units or more would have to have at least 10% affordable. Any developer would know beforehand coming in, that was a requirement, that was what was needed, and then they would decide whether they could want to proceed or not.
And then I would also say, if we means the residents of Portchester, certainly you can join us, the Sustainable Portchester Alliance. We have been working diligently to make our requests known to the mayor and the trustees, as well as to Starwood. We have reached out to them on a number of occasions to talk with us, and they have refused to do so. We have postcards that we would love to have you affix your name to and join our cause in letting, again, our elected officials know how we feel about development and how we want to see that move forward in the future. You have a voice. You vote, you certainly have a voice. And so that's another way of leveraging your power. But we certainly would love to have more members join the Sustainable Portchester Alliance. Again, we're a coalition of faith, labor, education, community organizations, and just individuals such as myself who want to make sure that development in the future is responsible. We're not against development at that United Hospital site. We, as much as anyone else, want to see something good come from that site. That has been an eyesore for a decade. And there's all sorts of manner of activity that's going on in that building that is not safe, that is not secure. We just want to see responsible building going on that site, whatever it may be. So that's something that you can do as residents of Portchester. Make your voice heard. Let us join us. We'll work together to try to do as much as we can. We always talk about sustainable as being the David to the Starwood's Goliath. So we know we're taking on a lot, but when the people speak, sometimes that's mightier than anything else that can happen. So that's another way of making sure that we see responsible building going on at the United Hospital site. Another question here is, and a very interesting one, what are the benefits of Starwood using the property the way they want to? Now, I'm not sure if that means benefits to the village, or how does it benefit Starwood? If the person who wrote that question would like to stand up and clarify, or you can stay anonymous. Okay, so what are the benefits of Starwood using the property the way they want it? Well, certainly, as I just mentioned, it gets rid of that eyesore. That would be one benefit. But we know that with the tax abatement that Richard talked about, that's going to impact our schools and how much money our schools are going to be able to make from that development. And for some of you may know, our schools Portchester schools are working on a project or a committee to understand how they can expand. We are overcrowded at the high school, and we are trying to figure out how we can expand our properties, our school properties, to bring in more kids. That takes money. The bond that was that was put out last year failed, and so that has to be renegotiated. So if Starwood's pilot was reduced, that would allow a lot more money to our schools to help them do the development that they need to do and the building that they need to do. But other than that, in terms of how it benefits Starwood, it certainly will add to their bottom line. They are a $44 billion revenue generating company. Yes.
$51 billion in assets across the globe.
$51 billion in assets across the globe.
They have properties in Brazil, in China, in all throughout Europe. Recently, they bought a $120 billion hotel in Luxembourg. It's a massive, really profitable company.
So in terms of asking the question, how does it benefit Starwood? It certainly does benefit them. It puts another couple of ticks in their bank account. How it benefits Portchester has yet to be seen, because we still need to talk about traffic, and we still need to talk about the safe mitigation of asbestos and other things that are in the building. United Hospital is a very old building. We don't know what's in there. And the residents that live in those apartments right up on Regent Street are going to bear the brunt of what happens on that site. So the benefits are questionable. We don't know what they are really. Again, the best benefit that I can see is that we get rid of the United Hospital. We get a nice new bright shiny thing, and hopefully it'll resemble something of what Portchester resembles, and it won't be this big, Goliath sitting at the entry layer, the gateway in Portchester. So I hope that answers your question for the person who asked it. Another question is, what leverage do Portchester residents have in this situation? Well, that speaks directly to what George was talking about. What leverage do we have in making this a reality? We have, again, our ability to vote. We have our ability to make our voices known. We can certainly reach out and speak to our elected officials and let them know how we feel. Our residents have a voice. We have something to say about what our community looks like now and into the future. And so we're lucky that we live in such a small community, because we do get to see our elected officials on a regular basis. And so, if you can join the Sustainable Portchester Alliance, we can increase our strength and our numbers, which would give us that much more leverage to make sure that our community benefits agreements that we're seeking, hopefully will get some play and some response and will be heard. So I hope that answers your question. Does anyone have anything to add to that, Dan or Richard?
What if they don't?
Come to the public hearing.
What if they don't? Now, that's a great question.
And
Right.
they sell, after they rezone and all that.
Right. So Ben, do you want to take that? What next steps might be?
So, are you asking what kind of leverage do they have if they?
Well, how does Starwood
What happens if
then
you
if
don't
they,
get the benefit?
if they decide that they're not going to build, right, and then they decide that they're just going to sell the property?
Then someone else will come in and build it. But what's important to note is that once this property is rezoned, we lose a lot of leverage. Again, it really is all about leverage, the way Senator Latimer put it. And we need to get some policies in place that apply to all development in Portchester, and also apply to the Starwood project. And we need to get it now, while Starwood is going through this review process. And we need to get Starwood to agree to certain things or make requirements upon Starwood. Because once the property is rezoned, that's a loss of a major source of leverage. And if we're correct in our assessment that they're going to sell it, which I feel fairly confident about, by the time they sell it, it will already be too late. We'll have already lost a lot of the leverage that's provided by the rezoning process.
So time is of the essence.
Yes.
All right, so we are at 8:22, and we wanted to be mindful of the time. And so if there aren't any other burning questions, I'm going to ask Senator Latimer to once again come up and sort of summarize and put his spin on this evening. And we thank Charlie Sacco and the Knights of Columbus for letting us use this space. It was a really perfect space for us to use. We thank you all for coming out. We certainly thank Senator Latimer and Trustee Adams and Trustee Brinkley for being here with us. And we thank you for coming out. We are really sort of heartened to see you here. But we talked about what could you do. So one of the things that you could do, again, is to join the Sustainable Portchester Alliance. Toward the back of the room, what we want to ask you to do, if you would, is to let us take a photo of you holding up a sign. The signs are on the table in the back of the room. If you're feeling passionate about this issue, we have a couple of posters in the back that talk about, are you concerned about affordable housing? Are you concerned about apprenticeship programs? And let us take a picture of you and let us use it on our social media and in our various materials and literature. And then we also have a postcard that we'd like to ask you to sign to sort of show your willingness to have your voice heard and to be counted, to stand up and be counted in terms of what we're trying to do with this development project. So all of that is in the back, and somebody will be very happy to take a picture by our American flag And now we're going to, I think is there anything else that we want folks to do? So the call to action is to just, is to speak up. Let us know you're here. Let us hear your thoughts and concerns about this project, and join the Sustainable Portchester Alliance and work with us to try to get some of these things moved forward. So, Senator Ladder.
I think we first owe that gratitude to Joan and the panel. We should give them a round of applause for their and for sharing your personal stories as well as your insight on all of this. We just finished with an election, which I don't think anybody missed, in which we had probably about as volatile a year as you could imagine. And at the end of the day, with all that volatility, all the stuff you read, all of the Facebook posts, all of the everything, 46% of the people did not vote. I think that's the accurate number I've seen. If it's a different number, then so be it.
About right.
I saw numbers, 46, 47%. And it's hard to imagine that that's the case, but that is the subject of a lot of different things. For some people, it was inconvenience. For some people, it was unhappiness with the two major presidential candidates. The bottom line is 100% of the authority was given on election day to the members in various positions. Where there was the presidency of the United States at stake, the president who won didn't get 26 or 27% of the power, got 100% of the power. And that is ultimately the statement of American democracy that we have to ask ourselves as individuals. What is it that we care about? And what is it that we're willing to put time and energy and effort into? I know a lot of the folks in this room, not everybody, I know people who put a lot of time and effort into things in their community above and beyond their business life and their personal life. And like everybody, we have things that are important to us that have nothing to do with our community service. I'm a relatively new grandfather, and that's one of the most wonderful things that's ever happened to me. And I want to put time away to do that. I'm a big sports nut. It is NFL Sunday every Sunday about this time of the year. And I don't like missing watching football. But the bottom line is that what happens on this project is as much in the hands of the people of Portchester as it is the decision makers of Portchester. I can assure you, I've been in public office for a while, quite a while, and when there is a large movement of people, and it's demonstrable, and you can feel it, then decision makers move. It's not just, whatever you tell me to do, I'll do, but you start to look and say, there's something happening out there, and you can feel it. And when you can feel it, then you're much more responsive to it. And I think that is what we need to have happen on this issue. There needs to be an understanding of how the people of Portchester in the main feel about this. That's the challenge ahead of us. The speakers and the individual advocates can go so far, but at the end of the day, there will be a road that diverges in the woods, as Robert Frost said in his poem, and we're either going to go down this road or we're going to go down that road. And whichever road we go down, we're not going to get a chance to turn around and come back to the fort and try the other way. So if there is a time to make that move now, if there's a time to put that power and energy behind something that you care about, this is that time. Thank you again for everybody. Thank you for letting me do this little close, but more importantly, thank you, Joan, for what you've done.
Thank you.